as to starting. So my agenda of this whole training is not just to go through theoretically in terms of Appian. We have really huge demand in the market right now for Appian. It's huge demand. Appian is one of the niche skill. You won't find Appian resources easily. So company are literally paying a big chunk of amount. They are literally paying anything. I have a lot of people 4 year, 5 year, 6 year experience, people getting 20 lakh, 25 lakh, and 30 lakh as well. So that's kind of a demand is there in for Appian in the market. So right now, the demand is really hot. The reason being, Appian is not only working on a business process management domain. It is has grown significantly from a BPM platform to a low code leader. So I'm not sure if you guys have heard about the low code or not. Low code is a buzzword in the market right now. It's really hot. In terms of low code, we have few platforms. Salesforce is one of them. We have Pega, we have Appian, and we have other platform as well. Appian is in the leader right now. If you go to the, I'll show you those reports as well. But Appian has grown significantly from version 6 to 21.4. It's not only a BPM world now; it's a case management leader. Now it's the low code automation leader. So you can actually build your application within few days and deploy in production, and your user will start using that application, and that's of no cost. Literally in a month time we have done that. I am telling you my personal experience. We have deployed means really complex application within 3 to 4 months in production, starting from development till production in 3 to 4 months. And we literally build it a journey like a kind of a machine where you build application in 3 to 4 months and start deploying in production. So that's the kind of power Appian gives you, because it's really it's have a lot of out of the box feature. Obviously you can build number of things on top of it, you can do the complex integration number of things, but out of the box features and a deep understanding if you have, then really you can kill anything. You can build the application within few months. So that's the kind of power Appian is providing you. And so let me just quickly give you, that's the reason, I think that's the reason in the market there's pretty hot demand for Appian. If you go for Appian and if you really know Appian, even for a junior developer, people who don't have experience, fresher, that's also huge demand, because people who have even less than 2 year experience, people want to take them because they know eventually if they grow, it'll be good for them. For the senior developer also, that's a huge demand. So overall, it's a quite huge demand for the market in for Appian. As part of the training, we will cover two sections. One is the associate developer. Second is the senior developer. Um, Initially, I think let me just cover the module first. So as part of this whole training, what we're gonna do is we will have multiple live projects. So I will literally give you real-time experience on the projects. We will build maybe more than two, three. They mentioned two running two live application, but I don't think we'll build two. Will build more than live application. Probability is there that we'll be building 3 to 4 different kind of application. We'll try to experience all the various flavor Appian provide right now, all the various object that we have within the Appian. We'll try to build something around those. So maybe more than that. I'll try to see if I can provide you a real-time application which is currently in the production, which is running, and the kind of issues we see in production, so that you know how a live project actually works in production, and what kind of issues we see in production, what kind of feature we provide in production. That's again, I don't promise that. I'll see if I can, but that is something I'll try to do. But even if that doesn't work, we are going to have number of learning of hands-on session, which will be really useful. And I will really recommend every one of you to not just look at me. You have to experience that hands-on journey. You have to go through with me. You have to make sure that you're doing that regularly. And I'm giving you a surety that you will be really good at the end of the training. So as part of the agenda, I think I divided the whole section into two different modules. One is the associate developer. So that's the kind of pattern that Appian also have. So they have two sections. They have three certificate: associate developer, senior developer, and lead developer. As part of this whole training program, what we're gonna do is we'll target for the first two, associate developer and senior developer, and I'll try to make sure that we have a significant amount of time we given to the certificate. I would highly recommend all of you to while we are going through the journey, try to complete those certificate as well. We'll give you some practice tests as well. I'll give you some tips as well to what you have to look at, how to crack those exams as well. That will really help you to actually learn and complete your Appian certification as well. So overall, I'll give you a quick overview of BPM. Along with that, I just don't want you to learn BPM. I'll give you a really deep dive kind of a session for cloud as well, because Appian sits on top of cloud. Obviously, Appian have on-prem. When I say on-prem, is basically on-premise, where you have the desktop, where you will get a exe and you deploy on your local machine. That's how that kind of setup is also there. We call that on-premise. On-premise means you have in the organization you have the servers and you're installing Appian on those servers. Those servers are basically the within the bank, within the organization. Those servers are they are owned by the bank or the organization, and you're installing those Appian on there. That's called on-prem network. And then you have a cloud version. People mostly go for the cloud version, native cloud reason. You don't need to manage those servers, and Appian is deploying every quarterly. They are coming up with a new release. So copying up with those new releases every now and then is really difficult. So Appian also suggests to use the cloud. So I'll give you a quick overview on the cloud as well. Apart from that, one of the most important part of the whole training and the Appian journey is the data manipulation. I'll try to see how much I can explore this to you guys, but this is really important to understand database. Uh, all of you have so all of you have any one of you have experience on the database side and understand relational database, or like relation Oracle or SQL. Have you heard about that?
Yes, I do have exposure to SQL Server 2019.
Great. So I won't say that we really need exposure or like some hands-on experience on SQL, but a good understanding on database will be really helpful. And don't worry about it. I'll take care of the classes. I'll give you some PDF and some of the pages as well, where you can actually look at how the database looks like, how the data we can play around. In Appian, you don't actually need to work on the database side, because the concept what it works is there's a concept called data type. It automatically created the database for you. I'll show you that in the demo as well. But a good understanding on the senior level or developer is required, because sometimes you have to go and work on the database side, where you design the class tables and the procedures and all. But again, that's not absolutely required, but good to have a feature which we want to have. Then we'll cover the process modeling, interface design, and that's the point. These are the various features that I want to cover: reports, record. The main feature I want to cover is exam preparation. Okay, so at the end of the module 10 is more about how we deliver the solution, is the delivery methodology, UX design. So till module 9 we'll cover all the basic concept, basic object of Appian. So by module 9 you'll have much more detail about Appian as a platform, Appian as a product, Appian as in various object about Appian. That's what you need to crack the associate developer exam. So that's where I'm focusing you guys to hear. Will target for a couple of days. We'll spend on this module 11 to cover the practice test, walkthrough of the topics, whatever we have covered, any question answer, any issue that you have. We'll try to cover those. Obviously, taking the exam or not, that's something you guys can pick up, but we'll target to give at least couple of days so that you guys are prepared for that. And similar pattern I'm going to follow in the next subsequent senior developer. So in the senior developer, it's basically we are going into a deep dive. So the initial module 10 on 11 is about giving you the basic of Appian, giving you how the Appian looks like, the basic object. So that will help you to understand overall, build some small application, build some basic application also. That will give you a kind of a junior developer kind of exposure. When we deep dive into the senior developer, that's where I think more some of the more complicated topics will come into the picture. So we'll work on those topics. We'll understand the architecture part. And I don't want to get into the architecture right away in till module 10, because the architecture is a bit different. And for a junior developer, they don't ask, like in the interview, people don't ask for the architecture. But for a senior level, sometimes they ask. So that is why I want to cover both of them. So So let's say if you complete your junior certification and you are, even if you're going for a interview based on your 2 year, 3 year experience, if you talk about architecture, that will be really helpful, because in Appian, I've personally seen, I've interviewed number of candidates across Appian. Nobody know the architecture. That is the reason if you go any other places for the training also, nobody cover the architecture. And I'm really focusing on the architecture, because if somebody understands the Appian architecture, it means he has a very good really good understanding on Appian. So that is the reason I want to cover the system architecture and also the application architecture, but not part of the associate developer, but part of the senior developer, so that before we jump onto the architecture part, we have a very good understanding of Appian, so that we know what is architecture, what is the Appian looks like internally, not on the object or the top side. And then we have the integration and web services. Again, we'll focus on the integration. That's okay. So I don't know why people don't focus on integration. My focus will be on integration. Reason being, if you go to any organization, if you go to any Appian product, live product, real-time product, focus is always on the integration, because Appian as a Appian or BPM or any product doesn't give you a basic means doesn't give you the full-time exposure. It required to integrate with the various component across the organization. You cannot just build Appian and process and done. No, that doesn't work in the real time environment. So I've seen that even if you bring it, doesn't matter. Integration is the most important topic. So, and even in the interviews, lot of focus will be on the integration and web services. So we'll try to focus more on the integration and web services during the demo, during the training, so that any question comes through that. And not only interview perspective, my focus for you guys not to just crack the interview. That will eventually happen if you go through the course, if you understand the concept, it will eventually happen. I don't care about it. The most important part is you understand the concept. If you understand the concept, you understand the design, nobody can stop you for cracking the interview. So don't only think about the interview, don't only think from the certificate perspective, think about that you want to learn Appian, and learning will be fun. Just think, is one of the really cool product in the market right now in terms of Appian, which provides you the low code automation, which is, and also it has a lot of capability in terms of robotic process automation, which is again another integration. So you will be learning robotic process automation as well. May not be part of this demo, it may not be part of this training. We'll see if we can cover that, just a quick basic of that, but may not need it for the certification. So my this course is basically to make sure you complete at least a senior certificate. And this is where I'm looking at, and I'm focusing for you guys to at least cover this. And at the end of that, we'll have some mock interviews as well, final closer. We'll cover everything at the end, and then uh, we'll see how we can pick up some of those things and try to see if we can play some of the interviews call within the companies, even in my companies. And Harsha is anyway working with number of companies to see how we can set up some of the interviews as well. So that will be the core agenda of the whole training program that we're going to happen. Any question, guys?
Yes, Tul, a couple of questions. The first question is going to be, what is the database that Appium is using? And my next question is going to be, how can we practice? Is it something like, do we need to install that software along with the database, or do we need to practice on the cloud with the, some kind of a free account? How exactly it is going to work?
Give me 5 minutes. I'll answer everything, because in the demo I'll show you that.
No worries. Thank you.
And second, on the database side, Appian uses relational database. So it's when you install on-prem, that is free. Like you can use Oracle or any other platform what you want to. But when you're going to use the one Appian provide, they're currently using MariaDB. So even though you don't need to learn MariaDB, if you understand the basic SQL concept, basic select star, all those kind of a command, it'll be okay for you. So you don't need to learn MariaDB for now. If you understand relational database concept, it'll be more than enough.
Okay. Okay. One more question before you proceed further, Atul. My question is, in case of Pega, it is a no code wherein we just define the class, we are going to define the properties that will take care of the table creation as well as the column. Same way, is it something similar to that process, or this is totally different? Very high level.
Again,
How do you compare again with Pega?
I'll show you in the demo. I
Okay.
worked
Thank
on
you.
Pega. I worked on Pega. I worked on Appian. The topic which you are saying, I find it much easier in Appian. I'll show you that within 5 minutes I can create the tables, and
No,
you'll
yeah,
see that
no,
as
no
well.
worries. Now, since you introduction, you told that you have an experience in
Yeah, no,
few
that's a
BPM
good
tools. I
point.
thought
That's
you
a
are the
good
right
point.
person.
Yeah, that's the good point you raised. I know these all three, at least all these three, so I can compare it. I like all three of them, but yeah, it's all personal choice.
Sure.
If you go ask Harsha or anybody and who's working on Appian, they'll say Pega. For me, I find it. But anyway, we'll cover that in the demo.
Sure, sure.
I'll give you a quick demo only around the database integration, so that you know how the database integration, how easy the database integration is. I picked up one particular use case, and I'll show you that in the demo. Before we jump on the demo, any other questions?
I have a question like, who are the clients currently using this
Appian.
Appian tool?
Appian is used widely. So Appian is pioneer in the BPM industry. Okay, so if so Pega is there, Appian is there, and there is IBM BPM as well, and then there's number of low code automation. There is number of open source platform in BPM. So if you I'll start my presentation because most of you guys are uh, really interested. You can see my screen, right? So let me
Yes,
just
absolutely.
this. So this is just one sector where Appian is. So this is only about the healthcare. Why I picked up this slide, because this is only talking about the healthcare. So if you look at any big client, if you just look at any other big name from the healthcare industry, and put up this list in the banking industry, put up the same kind of a list in any other industry. Appian is there across. So if you talk about in the banking, take any name, Citi, Goldman, Barclays, HSBC. You can take any name. Everybody's is using Appian. So look at it in that way. Any big organization, right? They doesn't stick to one platform or Pega or IBM or any other thing. They always explore all the product of the market, and as the organization is growing, the big organization, they try to explore multiple product, and they actually, if they like it, they continue that. So Appian is also good. Pega is also good. So you can't say where the Pega is there, Appian is not. I'm working on a bank where Appian is also there, where Pega is also there. So don't compare in that way that if somebody is using Pega, they can't use Appian. It's not the case. It's basically the use case basis, and everybody who likes Appian, they likes Pega also, they likes IBM as well. It's all about individual choices. But in terms of market, it's in the top. Anyway, let me start with my demo so that you know where you guys are coming into. Okay, so I'll not go into the agenda because I think we already covered that. So let me just cover the BPM notation. So as you guys are new to the BPM world, I just want to give you a brief of what BPMN is. So before we started building, like in 2000 or 15 years back when we were working on the industry, there was no concept of BPMN. The reason the BPMN comes in is like business process model and notation. Notation, when I say anybody who doesn't have a technical knowledge, I'm just saying in a very layman terms, that who doesn't have a technical knowledge, if I want to tell him that give me a process which you want to implement, and I want to give him a tool through which he can just define his process. For example, a very fairly simple example of an employee onboarding, right? Now I give that employee onboarding a tool to somebody who is working on employee onboarding. I'll ask him to define that in a workflow model or a on a flow chart diagram. So if you look at this, BPMA is nothing but a kind of a notation where let me show you one more thing so that you know where more about. So anytime if you guys free to go ahead and do that, there is a website called draw.io. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys have heard about it or not. So let's say draw.io. This is a very cool website in terms of building your notation, building your process diagram, building your architecture diagram. Also, this is integrated with various client also as well. So most of the architect in the organization or in currently in the market, they use draw.io. Now just search here BPMN and you'll see number of things coming into it. So more saves. So anyway, so what we want to achieve as part of the BPM notation is I want to draw an activity, draw the flowchart diagram. I'll say, and this is how it works, like uh, this draw.io. So you can just actually drag and drop and define your process model, and then give it to a technical person. Let's say data capture, and then load somewhere, and then process, right? So this is how it looks like, right? And then you have the decision gateway and multiple things. I'll talk about those. So this is how the BPMN came into the picture, where you want to give a tool to the people, or like a business process analyst, or like any of the people who doesn't have the technical background. We're giving them a tool so that they can define their processes. And once they define the process, that process will go to the tech team, and then tech team will really feel it comfortable to design the process. That is how the BPM notation come into the picture. And every BPM product, take it Pega, Appian, IBM, or any open source, they all follow BPM notation, because the BPM notation is the base of those process modeling. Okay. So before BPM, I just talk about it, right? So how the BPM could have been come into the picture. Just think about before BPM, how will you get the status? Because there was no business process. There is nobody is talking about it. Everybody is doing their own work. So that's where the BPM come into the picture. So before BPM, that is not the case. So if I as a manager want a status of an employee onboarding program where the employee is currently is, I'm talking about 20 years back. There is no way I can get the status from one single person. And even for an employee who is joining the team, he might have to struggle. He might need to go to the multiple department to get all his access. That's before BPM. Now what happened after BPM? We defined the process. Business process management is defining the process. So we defined the process. We defined the how our process will look like. For an employee onboarding program, we defined that you have to go to your manager. He is your manager. You need to go to facility to get your desktop, to get your laptop or your mobile, and then you have to talk to your HR for your leave or any other thing, right? You define the process now. So you have the process defined in your organization. Now everybody is following the structure. But in terms of the leader, right, the team lead or the manager who is sitting there, he's still not sure where to get in terms of employee onboarding. So where is that current status of an employee? If I go to the employee, he might not know what all things he has to complete. If I go to manager, he don't know where the facility is being done, even though the process is defined, the life cycle is defined, but the not end to end is not defined. So that's where the BPM where we are right now. If we come to the next part of BPM, after BPM, what happened? After BPM, we define the methodology. um, After BPM, we define the BPM software like Appian or Pega or all those things. Now, what these product has done, these product have integrate all of these, the whole processes. They integrated. They connected their database. They connected all the integrated software or your various system within the bank or the organization. They connected that. They connected all the people around. So social collaboration is there, and now everything is going into database or some CRM system or your Hadoop system, and then there's a centralized system which will take care of everything. So your team lead or a manager doesn't need to bother about it. He just need to go to the system, and he can generate all the report about each of the employee, not only one employee, but all the employee of the organization. So that's the kind of power we have given into from last from that's the journey we have gone through from last 15 years in terms of BPM. And now let me just talk about, I think this is something we just spoke about, where Appian lands, where Pega lands, or where IBM lands. So before I jump to what Appian is, that's where the BPM. So we have number of BPM platform, BPM product across market. If you look at, this is the quadrant from Magic Quadrant from multiple departments. So Appian, Pega, IBM, they are the top leaders in the market. IBM was literally on high in 2010 or so, but since last few years, I saw Appian and Pega are the only leaders in the market right now. So where Appian and Pega are the top leader right now, top-notch company, every company, most of the companies who are working on the BPM domain, they have Pega, they have Appian. So don't think about Pega versus Appian. They are everywhere. Okay. So let me jump. What is Appian? Again, we already spoke about. It's a low-code application development tool. It provides you digital transformation, process modeling, low-code tool. All these things we already spoke about. That's one of the really cool feature of Appian, and most of the new feature right now is coming into Appian as well, that once you build it application, right? Once you build the application, you don't need to really build the application again for your mobile or iPad or anything. It gives you a feature itself that once you deploy the application, it will be available on your mobile. So Appian has a mobile product. You have to install that in your mobile, and once you install it, you can actually take up all your activities or tasks from your mobile anywhere. It doesn't need to be office. I can actually be running somewhere. I'll be on the train. I'll be in somewhere else. I can actually complete my task from those places as well, as long as I have my Appian um, product installed on my mobile or iPad. I can take up those tasks. So that's kind of a power that is giving in terms of Appian. Again, low code automation is right now Appian is the leader in the low code automation. I'm sure most of you have heard this buzzword around low code, and Appian is really the significant leader. As leader, if you go to any platform, go to any history, go to any documentation, everybody talk about low code, and they are BPM in terms of Appian. That's currently the leader, and that's the example. This is, I think, 2021 or 2020 report that we have seen, where in terms of current market positioning in three different domain, which is the process automation, low code automation, and case management. So Appian started with case management. Now in the low code and process automation, everywhere it's leader, the triple crown leader across the globe. So that's the Gartner study, I think, in 2021 or 2020. That's the latest study. So don't think Appian is the leader across. Even in the market positioning perspective for the low code, again, this is the report. Appian, Microsoft, so Appian is gained. So Appian is leading across the industry. It's not one or two industry, but across the peer, across the organization. There's no competition for Appian right now, and that is the reason I think the demand of Appian is keep growing. The people need Appian everywhere, and the people who have the skill set of Appian is growing as well, and that's why people are paying them high amount, right? So that's the reason. Appian fits in any other process. So I personally build Appian from the scratch, from the application migration perspective as well, and to connect up and build a omni-channel experience as well. So I actually worked on, even though this is showing on the slide, but from last as a solution architect, I worked on all three domain on this. So I built an application which is from the scratch. We implemented some of the IBM BPM based solution and migrated those on Appian as well. I've done that as well, and connect and unify existing applications. So that's where Appian fits. So Appian is across means it's basically all the use cases can be implemented in Appian. I want you guys to just spend 2 minutes, all of you, just to give you the power of Appian. I know nobody does that, but I want to show you this. So just stay with me for 2 minutes and see the slide. Okay, so are you all of you are with me still? I'm hope I'm not boring you guys. So this is the power of Appian. Okay, you digital automation and Appian hand on hand. Like you do anything on Appian, low code automation platform, robotic, intelligent document processing, everything is there in Appian right now. They are keep upgrading their product. It's not like they are sticking with one particular version of Appian. Every single year, four releases of Appian coming into it. Every quarter they're putting one release, maybe minimum fix, maybe a small fix, maybe a custom fix, but this is from last 5 years without failure. They're every year they're putting four release, every quarter one release. That is the reason currently 21.4 is there, 22.1 will be there somewhere in March or so. So every year significant changes I've seen from last 6 7 years. They keep upgrading their platform, they keep aligning with the latest trends and technology, keep integrating with the various platforms. Just name it. In terms of Google Cloud Platform, you can take it AWS, you can talk it Salesforce, you talk about any damn platform, everything is there in Appian. So once you have it, you actually don't need to go anywhere. So that's the kind of power Appian is giving you right now. So that's the reason I want to sorry, that's the reason I want to show this particular slide also. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so I'll not cover these things, I think, because I think we have pretty much covered most of those stuff. And so you guys know now what Appian is. We already seen the client, so I just don't want to spend too much time on that. The one thing I just want to cover here is number of component and the reusable component. So Appian actually have a lot of reusable component. I will cover that in the demo again. So I'll take you to the demo. What I'll just show a quick demo of what Apple looks like. These are the things I probably cover in the classes because I think it doesn't make sense to go into the deep dive of this Apple product architecture or even the cloud architecture. So even I put those slide thought about it, but I think it doesn't make sense to right now go into it. These are the things we'll cover in the classes because this is more into the deep dive kind of a session. I can't cover this in 5 minutes. So let me just quickly go to okay, before jumping on that, any question, guys? Any question on Appian? Any question on what Appian is, how Appian is, where it is fits, where it is, what Pega, what Appian? Any question? Raise it now.
I have a question like, which one is it to learn in terms of Pega and Appian, keeping in mind like a fresher?
I would say I would not comment on it. Reason being, I don't want to say Pega is hard or Appian is. It's all about you, where you think is best for you. I can learn Appian, I can learn Pega. It's about where you really want to do. If you are really I would say I can learn both of them, right? There is no comparison of these two products, but they both are really good. They're both really solid. I find it personally, Appian learning is much more easier than Java. Java is more a class-based structure. So if you don't understand the OOPS concept, if you don't understand the class level of concept, it sometimes get tedious also. I've seen in Appian, I've seen in the Pega journey in the production of lot of complicated project in Pega, which get really messy when you start having number of layers on top of it, then number of object coming, number of classes coming. Sometimes it gets really messy, and obviously for a fresher, you might not see that complexity because you will only be building few interfaces, few process model here and there. That is okay, but as you grow, right, I've seen some of those problems and really managing Pega, even in the new version, which is Pega 8 or so, there is a complexity. But Appian, I find it more easier because Appian is more clean in terms of UI, in terms of object creation, in terms of data, managing data. It is much more cleaner and much more compact in terms of the whole product because obviously they are the latest product. Pega is there since the BPM evolved. Pega is there. Appian came pretty later in the picture, maybe around 2012. It started journey, so it has those latest feature. It knows the complexity around Pega. It knows the complexity around Appian. It knows the complexity around BPM. So it knows all of those things, right? So that is the reason. I find it much more easier to learn Appian compared to Pega. But again, I don't want to comment on it. It's absolutely choice of anybody. They can go and they can learn anything, because learning is fun. Learning is fun, guys. You can enjoy anything. But my personal is Appian. Okay.
Okay. I have one more question in terms of
Yeah.
Pega versus APM. When it comes to project upgrade, like from lower version to the newer version, I
Mhm.
heard like there are a lot of complexity in Pega. So how about in APM?
Migrating an Appian is pretty simple. Reason being, the way Appian works is built on KDBs. KDBs is like when you whatever you define in your application, that goes into the primary database. So Appian has a database which we don't touch, we don't do anything. When we design any process, when we design any interfaces, when we design any UI, internally it create a KDB file. KDB like a like an encrypted file goes into the Appian primary database, which again we don't touch that database. It's primarily for Appian to store all the data. Now that goes in the file system level, it goes to a KDB. It's literally the files. Now what happen if you really want to migrate from one version to another version? In cloud, it's a different story altogether. Appian cloud, you just ask Appian cloud that I want to migrate from one version to another, they will take care of it. You don't need to bother about it. But if you're on prem and you really want to do it from your own, I have done that personally. That is why I can tell you this, because I don't know, a lot of people have not done that, so they can't explain you. From version 16.2 to 18.3, I migrated that. What we did is was pretty smooth journey. Copy all the KDBs which is there on the file system on your server. Copy that, deploy that on the new server or new version. Get the new installable from the Appian 18.3, install it on the server, recopy those KDBs, and you're done. That's it. Very standard, very standard process.
Okay, thank you. And I have one more question. Sorry. Uh, This is related to the support in terms of APN applications,
Mhm.
because for Pega, I find much more difficult to get the answers when I Google or straight away answers. Or so how the support will be for APN in terms of we stuck somewhere or how
Look,
that.
so Appian community is there. In Appian community, you'll find number of documents. So you will see there's a Appian community. You just type it. Most of the issues which you see on the support, you'll find it in the Appian community. Obviously, Pega also say they have the PD, and you go into PD and you'll find it. Sometimes it doesn't happen in the real time, but in Appian community, I've seen most of the people, most of the responses which you want to find, you will be able to find it. So Appian community is pretty strong community, and also the documentation perspective, you will not find any other product have such a good documentation about it. I'll anyway walk you through how those documentation look like. But each and every product, each and every object, how that need to be used, and what are the different use case of that, you will find that in Appian. For example, a radio button or a checkbox, you will find a full page about it, how the checkbox look like, how the checkbox can be coded, how the checkbox, where the checkbox issue can occur, what are the issue means. So it's like literally a very minor detail about Appian is also there. So I'll walk you through about those documentation. I'll walk you through all those things as well. But in terms of support, it's very handy. So the documentation is really good. Okay.
Yeah, the,
Uh,
one quick
Final.
question. Do we have
What?
industry-specific framework solutions in Appian? Does the product support it, or is it a single vanilla framework that Appian gives us? I mean, I'm actually trying to
So
compare it with Pega, with
I
the
know,
question
I
that
know,
I've
I know,
asked.
I know you're where you're coming from. I know Pega provide number of industry framework, smart dispute, and other thing. But I have experienced one product which is they say is an industry standard product where you don't need to customize anything. 60%, 80% is already done. You just need to do 20% customization. When you start exploring that, when you start building that, you will find it doesn't useful for you. You have to eventually do 80% coding and 20% customization. So that is the kind of thing I've seen in my experience. I've seen it. So Appian is correct. Appian is a vanilla. You can actually do it whatever you want to. It doesn't have any standard generic product as such. You can actually build whatever you want to, and building an application with an Appian is pretty straightforward and very simple. So this before I jump in, so this is Appian Designer, how it looks like when you
Sorry to interrupt you. I have one last question.
go
So
ahead.
when it comes to customization, I know Pega we need to achieve that using the Java code. So in your experience, like did you encounter how many times you encountered such kind of customization code using Appian?
So customization depend upon what kind of customization you're looking at. So most of the time, what I've seen, the issues that we'll have in any application, not only Appian, not only Pega, but most of the issues that we have seen is around integration. Right now, some of the integration might be out of the box. Some of the integration where you have to work. Some of the format, for example, a legacy application. Right, you're building you're building the solution where you want to integrate with the legacy application now. Standard format for any integration is XML based. Now, assume that the application which you're integrating doesn't support XML, right? It supports something which Appian doesn't support. Now, for that kind of application, for that kind of integration, you have to build a common language common language, a wrapper, right? That wrapper could be in Java, that wrapper could be in any other language, but you need to build something around it. Now, that is called customization, where you need to build something which is not there on integrated platform or not there. Standard processes, standard automation process, standard build, everything is already there. You don't need to go anywhere else. But there are customization where you have to go for those. I in last 6 years, I never ever written a Java code in Appian.
Okay,
even though
thank you.
building even though building the plugin in the Appian is pretty straightforward, pretty simple, but I never get a chance where if I want to build some kind of a thing or customized thing where Appian doesn't support. I usually get most of the things even with the Kafka. So even if you, I'm not sure if you guys are pretty familiar with the new technique or new technology coming into it, but Kafka is one of the new technology in the market which actually looks into the message queue, message service. And it's highly used by across the organization because it can process millions of transactions and it can hold millions of transactions in the queue. Appian has come up with an integration with Kafka. I'm not sure if you guys heard about the NoSQL, which is Mongo database, which is unstructured data. If you want to store unstructured data, you can store in Mongo. So Appian has integration with Mongo. So these integration not out of the box, but Appian, as the releases going on, new product coming in, new demand coming in, Appian is keep integrating those as well. Okay. Any other question, guys, before I jump onto the demo and just show you how that looks like? Okay. So once you guys start Appian, there is a this is this is where you have to start. There's an Appian community. What you have to do is basically create your own account. Once you create your account, there is a link here. Create my site. I already have a site. So you will just need to create click on a link, create an account with your organization email address. It will be preferred to use your organization. If even if you don't have, that is fine. You can use your Gmail, but that will be valid for 15 days or 20 days, I think. But you can drop an email to support@appian.com and they can extend another 15 days, another 30 days or so. So there's no worry. They can provide you the support in terms of extending your Appian site. Once the site is ready, within, I think it takes only 10 minutes, and then it will give you a link like this, whatever the site name is, and you can actually click on it and you'll see that you are inside Appian. That's straightforward. You doesn't need to install Appian. You doesn't need to do anything. This is the cloud version of Appian running on AWS. It gives you the experience of Appian. If you don't log in on this website, on this community site for the continuous 6 days or so, I think they will drop your site. So you have to make sure while you're practicing, you keep at least logging on this site, keep doing some hands-on, so that they know that you are actively working on it. Because it's on cloud, they don't want to they don't want to get paid for that, because every time when you create a new website or new site, they have to pay for it to AWS. So unnecessarily doesn't want to. So 5 days or 6 days is the one which they look at. If you don't use it, they will drop the site. But creating the site is pretty standard, and you can just create it within few minutes. That answer might be that question somebody asked earlier, right? Okay, so
True.
this is how the Appian community, or this is how your site look like. Now, if you look at, we have three major component. You have more component. We'll not talk about it now. So we have admin console, Appian designer, and Appian database. Somebody was talking about the database. So this is how the database look like. You don't need to install database. Appian gives you a database on cloud, which is already there. So you don't need to bother about creating your database, connecting your database with anything. Appian is giving you the database. You can play around with the database. So go to database, create a SQL query, whatever you want to do, you can do it. It's free. And even if you don't want to do Appian work, you can still use a SQL thing. So that's absolutely free. You can log in, you can play around with your database. That's absolutely free. So you don't need to bother about database part. Okay. I'll not cover admin console and right now, because that I don't want to waste time the admin console. But okay, let me just show you how that looks like, just for you guys to know um, how easy to configure anything in Appian. This is the admin console. Is basically used for configuring your whole site, whole Appian platform as such. So initial few things is basically used for coloring, branding, images, how your Appian site will look like, color and all, any platform that anything that you want to append on your, all those things you can do. Internationalization is nothing but the localization. So if you want to build an application in any other language, it's pretty straightforward. If you want to use a time zone of a different time zone, so when the task is created for any other user, you want to make sure the time zone is IST or UST, UTC or EST. It is, you can configure it here. Plugin, again, that this is, I just spoke about it. So Appian provide you out of the box plugin. When I say our plugin is nothing but the Java based plugin. So they already have these Java based plugin available, and they are drag and drop kind of features. So I'll show you that in the process model in the designer. But if something is not there, eh, people are free to build their own plugin. Build the plugin in Java, deploy the plugin in Appian, and that will work as a smart service. That's it. They're pretty straightforward. Authentication, we do support. Appian support LDAP and SAML based authentication. Again, configuring LDAP and SAML is very standard. You just need the LDAP URL and then you are good to go. Same for SAML, you just need a SAML authentication token from your organization, whoever is supporting LDAP. Just configure that and you're good to go. These are very standard. User management, again, is very standard. Go create your user, update user, all those things, pretty standard. And DevOps feature deployment, obviously I might not be able to show you the power of DevOps in Appian, but I wish I could. I'll try. But the power of DevOps is you actually have two environment. One is dev, one is test, one is production. I can actually deploy my whole application in one single click to the next environment. That is the kind of power Appian provides you. Again, this is I'm talking about where I am currently working. I've seen that. I might not be able to show you on the Appian side because it only gives you one environment. What happened when you connect to that, when you go to any organization, when you go to Appian where you're working, you will see that DevOps pipeline is so strong, guys. You will not believe it. I can actually deploy Appian within few minutes to any environment, even in production. Obviously, when you go into production, you have much more regulatory, much more compliance thing which you have to follow. But if there is no regulatory, no compliance, I can take from dev to production within few hours, and you can deploy it to any other environment as well. They do provide health check, DevOps, and then talk about number of integration. Okay, so these are all these things you can configure here. Do that. The third and the major part is the designer. This is where you do all the magic work. This is where you do all your this is your playground where you define your application, define your process model, define everything. I'll okay, let me just a quick application. Let me just create a quick application for you guys to see. Let me just name it as okay, before I'm creating this application, but any question, guys, as of now? We have another 7-8 minutes. So what it's gonna do, I'll just create an application. What it does is going to create all the groups and folder. That is what I was talking about, that how Appian structure things properly. So if you look at this, is how we create the application. And creating an application, it created a couple of user group. He already this user Appian already mapped me in those groups. Created the folder structure as well, so that whenever I'm going to create anything, I can create those. I can map those process model or the rules or anything within this process model. Let me just create a new data type. So this is employee. Okay. So this is I think somebody was talking about how to create data type in Appian, right? And how easy is that? So this is how it's easy. So I will create one ID data type, which is my primary key, going to be my primary key. So that's say my primary key. So this is again the concept of Appian, the database, which we'll learn in the classes. But this is I'm just going to add one field for now, so that we don't need to bother too much. So let's say employee name. I'm not going to, because we are already running over time. So I just created one ID field and an employee name field. Save the changes. Okay. Now this data type is created. This is how easy we call it CDT. Okay, this complex data type. Now we come here, we create a data store. Data store is nothing but a bridge between database and Appian. Okay, so we'll create here, we'll go create a data store. For example, let's now give everything to the administrator. All the security thing we have to control, but we'll not learn right now. So Appian data store is, what it does is basically you click on add entity. What is the name of what CDT is? AT underscore employee, right? So let's say ATEMP, and the type of the data which we created is AT underscore employee, right? I clicked on save. Now what happened here is, let me open cloud database so that. Okay, so this is the cloud database. Now if I go here on the tables, do you see anything with this name? There's nothing here, right? There's no tables here. Now if I come here on the data store, what I have to do is, gonna see a magic now. I will click on that. What it is doing right now, downloading a DDL script. It is giving me a DDL script which I can download and manually go on the database and run it. I don't want to do that right now because I don't want to touch the database. What I'm gonna do, I'll click on verify. Appian is doing what Appian Data Store right now is doing, is going to that cloud database, trying to see is there any table with that those columns are there or not. It will check those columns and the table. It identified there is no such table right now exists. I said that's fine. Create the table automatically, and I just do this, save and publish. Now entity mapping verified. Now what happened here is Appian has created a table with AT employee, and it mapped my data store with that already. Now if I go back here, you can see a table is created with two column, ID and employee name, right? These were the two columns which I have in my data type, right? This is what my data type looks like. So this is how easy is to play around with database in Appian. Now this is done. Now I'll quickly create a constant. Creating a constant is basically, you don't want to, it's a good practice again, because when you really start working on the organization and when you do something in your Appian or anywhere, it's not only Appian, but it's a good practice to not hard code anything, right? So that's the reason we always prefer to use constant or don't hard code any of these things. So I'm just writing this data. So this is what it's gonna do, is this constant is going to point to my data store, and the data store which I created is the name of the data store is AT data store, right? So let me create the name of this is AT data store, and when I open it, it will pick up the table also. So AT EMP is my table name. Now I'll just do that. Okay. Now go to the process model. I'm going to create a new process model which says enter data. Because I'm running out of time, that's why I'm just putting any random name. But so I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the process modeling. We discussed earlier in the draw.io, right? Draw.io.website. That's where we design the BPMN. And once you design those BPMN, a non-technical guy presented this draw.io, give me that process model, and then it came to me. And what I'm gonna do, I basically define that whole process model here. Now, if you look at this whole process model, Appian process model, that's where you do all your orchestration. When I say orchestration is, this is the place where you integrate. This is the place where you define how your UI will look like. This is the place where you do everything else. So this is the place where you do most of the work. The other place where you do your magic work is interface. So writing or creating an interface is so easy in Appian. That is what I'm going to show you, the why they call it low code automation, because when you come here, you have thousands of things to create your design, create your pattern. So you have forms design, forms template, you can use pages, you can design number of things and various patterns. Similarly, if you come this side on your left hand side, various palettes, so you can use any of the pattern. You have various component, text box, integration, date time, file upload feature. Apart from that, you have drop down, multi drop down. So you, how easy is that? You can just do a drop down here and Appian is ready. So anything, you can do a card choice. It's so easy, and you just need to configure it in that. You don't even need to touch anything. I'm not even touching the code 9. That's why we call it low code. I'm not touching anything, and you will see, even if I don't touch anything, my UI will be ready in no time. And if you look at here, that's how they're showing why it is low code. This when I design this, I can see this in tablet format. If I click on it, it will show you how this tablet will be, how this will look in tablet, how this will look in mobile phone also. So this is the power of Appian. So you build it once, you can deploy anywhere, see everything, right? That is where it is really handy. So you can see all the various type of devices and how that looks like. So let's just go back to our pattern. So my pattern is currently I want to store the data. So there is an option already available, create from the data type. So if I create my data type, so I have my data type is AT. So this is my data type, right? So I can use this form to build either in the editing mode or in displaying mode. Displaying mode means everything will be read only. You cannot edit that. Let's just click on generate. When you see that, what happened here? It built the form for me. I'm not doing anything. The form is built. If I just save the changes, my form will be saved. Okay, so let's do that. I want to cover a lot of things here, the rule input, how the rule input will look like, how those things, but we don't have much of a time here. So just look at this form is already ready, and the corresponding code of that is already is also ready. So and the value mapping of that, it is also done. You don't need to map anything with the new version. This was not used to happen in the earlier version, but in the new version, they're giving me all the values mapped also. So now if I look at this, is completely done. I don't need to do anything. My form is ready, closed. Now I go to the process model. What I'm gonna do is I will use a data store entity where I say write to data store entity. Okay, use that as my process start form. So process start form is like I'm going to type my amp data. So when I put the start form is basically I don't want to create the process. I want to start my process as soon as the form is submitted. I don't want to create my process before the form submit. So that is why I'm doing that. So this is, if you look at, I just type my interface name. Everything is mapped automatically. I'm just clicking on OK button, guys. Nothing else. Everything is done. If I just need to put the values here. which data store entity. So I'm going to say that's where we say that. So just to give you the constant versus value. So if I, let's say if I select any of these things, what happened here is it will write in this format anything. Let's say select this one, click on OK. It will show this, but in terms of why we have constant, so that we don't hard code these value. Okay, so the stmp data, and then we have to have one more input, which is what data we're going to store. So what is our database name? et_employee, so it is fine. And then value, we're going to map the value, we're going to store the value. That's it. And then save and publish. Your model is saved. Just debug it right there. Employee the name. All this validation of 255 character is already there. Done. Now you can validate this. It failed. Now why it is failed? That is what you have to find out. So okay, that's incorrect integer value. I incorrectly mapped a different variable. I have to map BSEMP. Let me just do it right now here. So just do this. Okay, leave it. I'll just try to use this. Guys, are you okay to continue? I think I saw a couple of guys are leaving. Is that okay to continue for some more time?
Sure.
Yes, sir. Good.
Okay. Okay. So in the meanwhile, I'll just show you some of these other things. So this is how easy is in terms of storing the data. That just ran and it store the data there. So I'll just show you one more table here, which we created. Anyway, I think that's fine. The other thing which I want to show you guys is, okay, before you guys drop off, I want you guys to have store this, because Appian provide you some of those inbuilt product also. So order fulfillment is one of the application which they already have. So if you just want to see how this product look like, click on the order fulfillment. So this is how Appian provide you out of the box application which is already available. So you don't need to do anything. This application is already there. You just need to go and explore this and just see the power of Appian, how Appian looks like. So building an order management tool, trends, various features. So basically, if you look at, you can go into the Appian, look into the code of all these things. This is how Appian looks like in terms of customer list, trends. We all build all this kind of application, fancy application. Appian is a very fancy application in terms of you can build really, really good UI versus Pega. Pega doesn't have those kind of fancy UI features. So Appian have a really fancy UI feature. So you can build a dynamic map. You can build some tabs, various multiple standard tabs, and also those fancy breadcrumb style also. So that's where this Appian looks like, and that's what Appian have. Also, this apart from well order management, there's one more application which is really good as Okay, so we'll go here. So if you just click on object, go to site, Acme solution site. So that's another application which they provide free once you start your community. These are a couple of applications. So it's a vehicle management application. So this is how application in production, usually in production, looks like, where if I want to see all the data, all the VIN number for an application, I can see that. So I can actually see the record type of that. So if you click here, it will give me all the data of it. So this is how the fancy look of Appian I was talking about. So it gives you, along with the data that you need, it gives you images, all other features as well, and also the various tasks, requests about it. Adding a vehicle to field. This is I wanted to show you guys how easy it is to configure this kind of a model, like add a vehicle thing. You just need to create a CDT, which I just showed you, right? You just create a CDT, and creating this interface will not take more than 5 minutes for me. Once you create the CDT, I can create this particular kind of interface within 5 minutes. That is the power of low code automation tool. And then mapping with the CDT and data store, creating the database table and storing the database. It's another half 1 hour job. That's it for this kind of an interface. So they already provide that, and then you have the free reporting is again, you can build number of fancy report around it. So this is the power of Appian. Again, you don't need to do a lot of work here. They have most of these automation here, most of the tools, objects here, which can actually build up this fancy report. A record report is again the power for a lead or the manager who want to see those fancy report that generate, and also see the CSV data as well. Everything is available in Appian. So these are a couple of applications also which can we will walk through in the training. That's more or less all, guys. Any question, I'm happy to answer.
Like in the industry, like do we have any internet-based applications that developer using Appian?
Internet-based application, in the sense cloud-based application.
No, I mean there are two in the industry, right? Like intranet and internet.
Intranet and internet. I'm not able to catch you what you're saying. Intranet or internet? You're saying internet?
No, the internet applications are only within the company, right? So any public-faced applications that are developed using Appian.
Okay, so Appian is you need to just rephrase that. So we are calling it a customer-facing application and on-premise application. So customer-facing application, for example, I build an application where we want to onboard a customer for credit card. So we give a user interface to the customer who will sign up the form, fill up the form, submit it. Once you submit the form, the backend processing of Appian will trigger, and in the backend we'll be integrating with various component, onboarding that user and creating his account. So Appian is free, irrespective of on-prem network versus building a customer-facing application. It's all, you can do anything here. The only challenge comes in the organization, how they are compliant, how the regulatory are. For example, if you're working on a government agency, they won't allow to build a customer facing application. If you're working on a bank where you're storing a lot of customer data, they might not allow to store to build on the cloud or the customer facing side. But again, I have seen we do a lot of encryption, we do a lot of customer cryptography, we use a lot of TLS based encryption, we use VPN tunnel. So all those things can be worked around. So you can build anything in Appian, on-prem, customer-facing, intranet, doesn't make a difference.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, guys? Anybody?
Can you please elaborate the job market as far as US is concerned?
Okay, I already discussed that on upfront. So Appian demand is huge. Even in my current company where I'm working, we are looking for 4 or 5 Appian developers since last 3 months. I'm not getting it. We are paying whatever we want to, we are not getting it. So Appian demand is very huge. Market is huge. lot of people are looking for Appian developer, Appian senior developer, Appian architect, and are not there in the market. If you look at, because it's so niche skill, people are not there in the market, and people who are already working, the company don't want to release them. So the market is really hot, and also with the new version of Appian keep coming, it's making really competitive for other competitor, because it's bringing up all the new trends, all the new technology. If you go India, I've already explained earlier, people who are having 4 or 5 or 6 year experience getting 25, 26 lakh as well. Even though with the senior developer course, they might have not completed a lead developer course, but only with the senior developer, I've seen people, 6 year guy got 25, 26 lakh as well. So that's the kind of hot market right now in Appian is, where company are ready to pay if you bring that kind of expertise within the organization. So if you bring that Appian expertise, even for the junior developer or senior developer, doesn't make much of a difference. Reason being, they just want Appian guy who has a good understanding on Appian and who can build the application, because they know even if a 2 year guy comes in, he understand all the core concept of Appian, he will be able to go to the senior developer within a year or so. So it doesn't make much of a difference. But yeah, obviously senior level have much more experience and all those things. But the job market for junior developer or senior is very high, and also company are ready to pay any amount. I've seen, as I told you, in terms of India, people are getting it. Similar thing in US, it is way more than Java, way more than any other thing. I personally see that. I think it definitely be more than 20% hike you get it for Appian product. 20% more hike than you get in on average products.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we are anyway overrunning this. So if we don't have any other question, we'll wind this up. And reach out also for any. I think you guys have the number for Harsha, right? So you can. This is the number 9885312299. Reach out to him if you want to continue on this and be part of this Appian journey. Again, to reiterate, I will not focus on certification. I'll not only focus on certification or you're cracking the interview. My focus will be to make sure that you learn Appian after the training. Once the training is over, I want you to make sure that you understand the core concept of Appian, because once you understand those things, cracking an interview, cracking a certificate, it's just matter of time, right? So my core thing is that you understand what Appian is, how Appian works, why we're calling it a low code, what are the things is there in Appian platform, what is cloud, how it is sitting on cloud versus why it is not on the on-prem network, why we prefer to go on cloud, basic of database. Some of those things I will definitely cover as part of this whole journey, because I just don't want you to stick on Appian, because in an interview it doesn't happen. They will ask you something about cloud. Cloud is the most desired platform now, so you have to know something about cloud so that you can talk about it. You have to know something about database so that you can talk about it. Appian is definitely the core, but along with this, two of these things are also important. So we'll cover definitely as part of the training platform, so that you know those two things as well. Apart from that, Appian will cover each and everything, but we'll focus on learning rather than theoretical knowledge, and with the mindset of learning Appian rather than cracking or clearing the interview. Okay, guys, have a good day. I'm winding up. If we don't have any question, I'm going to close the recording now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Atul. It was nice interaction.
Atul, I have a question. What would be the the duration of this course and those details? I have to reach out to Harsha, or
you can reach out to Harsha as well, but we are targeting somewhere around 45, I think 1.5 to 2 months. Again, and depend upon how what speed we take it, and how everybody accept it. I'll try to see 45 days, but even if that doesn't complete in 45 days, I'm happy to take it another 6 days. I'm happy to take as long as you guys are comfortable, but 45 days is something we're targeting.
so is it the same time, or the classes will 8 a.m. in the morning? Because I'm located in Canada, so EST. So just want to make sure about the timings.
So you are in EST?
Yeah.
So right now I'm also in the EST time. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah, means we'll see. I think you can reach out to Harsha. I have another slot as well, but I'm not sure if which one they're gonna fit into. Uh, we have another one starting at 8:30 as well. 8:30 EST. Sorry, guys. For those who are in India, that's 7. But again, I'm not very certain on this right now. I'll probably you drop an email to Harsha and they will let you know. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a good day and have a good night who are in US. Good night.